Okay, thank you very much. Good evening, everyone. Thank you all for being here. Okay, let's continue. Do you have any questions? I was here in the morning ceremony, and I was pleased with the quality of the recitation. I'm very pleased with it. We have our style of ceremonies, but we try to set a new standard in that was somehow lost in the way it's done right now. Right now, the Chinese style is they put a lot of emphasis on the tune, the melody, so that's nice. That's very attractive because the Chinese ceremonies are very adorned, very good music, very good chanting. But they went away from the core of the true purpose of the ceremony is to praise the Buddha and to help you cultivate, help you enter samadhi. And so that's why even like my master's temples, I don't think they put that kind of emphasis anymore, unfortunately. So for us, when we do ceremonies, we want to do it to help you cultivate and help you make progress a little bit quicker. So that's why the Weno and the Woodfish people and the people who perform the ceremony should be pretty good in terms of samadhi. And also, if that's not the case, in our case, because we put more emphasis on training our people, so that if the people who do ceremonies are not good enough, then we will assist them from the audience. Okay. But there's a standard here that I need you to stress. That is, I'm very pleased with Sangwuk's standard. The pace is right, the samadhi level is adequate. Okay, and that's what I'm looking for. Okay, that's the standard. That's the minimum. Okay, because when you do that, you actually are aiding the people in the audience, in the assembly. Okay, that's important to keep that in mind. All right, because I see that the other Chinese temples they went away from that. They emphasize more on the musical instruments, the instrumentation, and the chanting instead of samadhi. Okay. The core is still to help you develop your samadhi. All right. So I'm very pleased. I finally saw that you're catching on. And if I have one suggestion at all, is that when Sangwuk was doing the recitation, fast recitation, Emitofuo, 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 she tried to imitate me, and she tried to make it sound too good, and that's a mistake. You should stay to your do not try to please people. That's a mistake. Do not try to impress people. Stay within yourself. Okay, very good. Let's continue with the lecture unless you have any questions.
小佛皈依三宝，要拎出你们个的真心来。
When I lecture for you, and when you study Buddhism and take refuge with the Triple Jewel, you have to put your true mind into it.
你们拎出个真心来啊，那个佛啊菩萨，不理你，你要拎出个真心来。
If you don't put your true heart into it, the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas will pay no attention to you. You have to put your true heart into it.
怎样叫真心呢？就係唔怕苦噶，唔怕餓，唔怕肚餓，你要怕肚餓，那就唔係真心。
What is the true heart? It is an attitude of not fearing suffering or hunger, fearing no hunger. If you're afraid of going hungry, your heart is not yet true.
所以，他朝唔食飯那個的還好，我們打佛七，你每一個人都應該發菩提心。
It's okay if you're afraid of not being able to eat. When we hold a Buddha recitation session, each of you should bring forth the Bodhi mind.
不要像以前那麼樣子一天吃好幾頓來打。
It shouldn't be like in the past when you ate several meals a day.
佛七一點誠心都冇拎出來。
You come to a Buddha recitation session and yet you're not the least bit sincere.
你們要拎出個真心來，拎出個真心就肚餓唔係餓了，他沒嘢。
You must bring forth your true heart. When you bring forth your true heart, then you will no longer be afraid of hunger when you're hungry. What are you afraid of?
少吃一餐又點話？少吃一餐也唔受得幾多個。
What's the big deal if you eat one meal less? Eating one meal less won't make you that much thinner.
多吃一餐也唔肥得幾多個。
Eating one more meal won't make you that much fatter.
你就瘦一點，我把我這個肉獻給佛，我把我這個血獻給佛，咁樣才叫真的，你一點都唔受得苦，哎呀，好肚餓咯。
Even if you get thinner, you can offer your flesh to the Buddha. You can offer your blood to the Buddha. That's what I call being true.
受不了了，受不了才要受呢。
You can't endure any hardship. You're hungry because you can't endure. That's why you need to endure.
你冰个瓦呗，你听话受不了了，平样又叫做受不了了。
Which one of you said that you can't endure? What is can't endure?
见到师父回来，想要去实验嘛，藏到一边，以为这个师父就根本忙着，他抬不到。
You saw Shifu came back. You wanted to eat. but hide the food to the side thinking Shifu is blind and couldn't see it. He didn't expect that I would follow him to check on him. What are you laughing about? That was true. You need to bring forth your true mind. It's just hunger. I am not even afraid of starving to death.
Okay, let's stop. Okay.
Let me tell you, I have 3 rules here in America. Do not climb on conditions. It is okay to freeze to death.
Okay, let's discuss this. He has a very cute way of explaining the profound Dharma. Sounds like he's arguing or scolding you. Actually, he's speaking very, very profound Dharma. It's so clever the way he taught it. It's beautiful. Okay, so 162. Tell me when I get to the other part. Okay, climbing conditions. Okay. So he says, when I'm here teaching you, and when you study Buddhism and take refuge, triple jewel, meaning that non-Buddhists, like Catholics, are exempt from this, so it's okay, you can tune out, huh? Because the Buddhists are supposed to learn about something that they possess. It's called the true mind. So this is, he's teaching them. Remember, this is very early in his teaching career. He started teaching Buddhism in San Francisco, and I guess it's a Fochi, so it's a lot easier for people to practice. And so back then, when I first look at this, I said, what is he talking about? It's a wrong level for wrong people. Okay, but when I listen to the rest of it, and say, I can see why he's explaining it this way. So he said, you have to put your true mind into it. Okay, and of course, when you see the true mind here, I corrected it a little bit because the translation, which is pretty good, put your true mind into it. It's very good translation, but the original translation was true heart into it, because this here mind character here comes from sin. Sin also means heart, and the Chinese would like to mention the word heart, which is carries a double meaning, carries both the meaning of the heart here as well as the mind. Okay, and so to put your true heart into it is okay, but here he's referring to when the Chinese use the word sin, then it means both actually, the heart or the mind. Okay. And both. But here, when you talk about the true sin, Chen sin here, it's the true mind, it's not the true heart. Is that clear? The translation has to be precise. And he explained a little bit further. He says, this is actually pretty advanced Dharma, and the way he explained it is pretty remarkable. He says, if you don't put your true mind into it, the Buddhists and Bodhisattvas will pay no attention to you. No, I don't know where it came from, but it's not true. Okay, the Buddhists and Bodhisattvas, when you come to a place like this to practice, they are paying attention to you. The proof is that in the Amitabha Sutra that you recite in the morning and the afternoon, it says that if you recite the sutra, the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas will keep you in mind and will protect you and will aid you, assist you in your practice. Okay, so this is not quite true, but he's sort of like challenging them. He says, if you should know that the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas are watching over us, and don't miss the chance on that opportunity. Okay, so he bent the message a little bit, but the point here is that he introduced some new concepts that's very important. So this is truly advanced Pure Land Buddhism that he chose to speak to these people. So this is from the Chan perspective. It's called the Sutton teaching. So this is a proof that when he taught Pure Land Buddhism then to those people, he actually taught the true Pure Land Buddhism, not the Asian Pure Land Buddhism that the Asian teachers taught. And unless I pointed it out to you, you probably don't realize it's a true Pure Land teaching. Whereas the Pure Land, Asian Pure Land teachings out there, and that's being advocated by the Chinese teachers, Asian teachers, they're all, I would say, gradual teaching from a Chan perspective. That's why his teaching of Pure Land is very, very advanced. Unfortunately, none of his followers got it. Okay, so that's why he had to break it into a little bit more digestible portions for you. So the true mind here should be a mind, not a true heart. Okay, true heart here doesn't make sense. Okay. So you can change it. Because when we Westerners hear of this thing called true mind, okay, then we all wonder, what is that true mind he's referring to? Yeah. And this true mind here, and he says, I can't explain the true mind to you, but I show you when you're not using the true mind. It's very clever. It's beautiful. He says, I cannot point out the true mind to you. Now, if you're a bodhisattva, you know what I'm talking about. You're not a bodhisattva, I can't tell you what it is. So what I can tell you, what it is not. You know, beautiful? Very clever teaching. Keep that in mind. This is how you teach. Get people who don't understand the Bodhisattva Dharma, you tell them what it's not. So if you don't put your true mind into it, the Bodhisattva Buddha will not pay attention to you. You put in the true mind. What is a true mind? Okay. The true mind is an attitude, okay, and actually, the word he used, the true mind here, we translate it into put your true mind. Actually, the Chinese has a different meaning. Is ling chu is to grab out, okay, to pull out, okay, and so this is very, very precise. The Chinese teaching is pretty good. It's a very colloquial way of explaining it even to the Chinese people, because it's also a very clever way to explain to the Chinese-speaking people as well. Okay, so anyway, that's why you have to learn Chinese. It's kind of cool. So when you put what is the true mind, is an attitude of fearing, not fearing suffering or hunger. You see. Okay, so if your mind raises a thought, I say, I'm afraid. I'm afraid to be hungry. If I eat lunch here, am I going to be hungry later on in the evening? Okay, if your mind strikes up those types of thoughts, then you recognize it's not your true mind. Meaning that if you recite the Buddha's name and you don't have such thoughts, you don't worry about eating, about going hungry, okay, then chances are that it's your true mind that's reciting. And right now, some of you should have been enlightened already. But no, I look here, huh? You see, that's why it's called sudden teaching, because it's not meant for peasants. Okay. So keep at it. If you are not enlightened yet, like the girls back there, he said, what is Master talking about? You're not there yet, so keep at it. All right? So who says it's Pure Land Dharma is not chant, it's pure chant right here? Yes, question.
Thank you, Master. Is it because our true mind doesn't have fear?
Yes. Okay, that's how he chose to explain it. But as we continue a little bit further, and that is a way, as an expedient he used, but actually it has drawbacks as well. Okay, it's meant for those of us who are not quite there yet, it's meant to plant the seeds in you for future reference. Even the non-believers, they say true mind, whatever, and they said the Buddhists are crazy. Well, mind is always true. What are you talking about? Okay, so it's okay too. It's plants the seeds in them, or this concept called the Buddhist concept called true mind, that eventually, as you practice Buddhism, you continue your practice, you know what it's about. Right now, we can't explain to you yet. We're gonna you continue your practice, and one day, okay, you follow along. One day, say, that's what he meant. You finally perceive your true mind, if you will. Okay, so how do you get there? You see, this is what's so beautiful about his teaching. Most people would say the true mind, you keep on going and go on of attention, explain true mind is so-and-so, the Buddha says so-and-so, this Shastra so-and-so. And what Master Xunhua did, which is beautiful to me, he's the only one who did that, as far as I know, because I read a lot of patriarchs. Pure Land patriarchs as well, Chan patriarchs and so forth, and great teachers. And none of them explain it like the way he did. It's so clever. Okay, the way he explained it, as you see, okay, it's not meant for you to understand. Notice that. It's meant for you to, what is your true mind? Okay, you're not afraid of going hungry. Okay, and so it tells you that endure the hunger. You see that? If you're afraid of going hungry, and you later on, some of his disciples says, I'm going to sneak some food in, and at least I have the energy to continue to recite and so forth. And he made fun of that. He made fun. He says, those you are not able, don't have enough energy, you're not eating enough, huh? You're afraid you're going to pass out, okay? Then bring forth the body mind, or whatever it means. In the past you ate a lot of meals already, and now you expect the same thing here. So he says, you see, it's all based upon follow along, do it. Okay? So these are actions, items, things you do in order to get there. It's not about understanding what it is. Because the true mind cannot be understood. And this is a fallacy of the lecturers, the teachers. They try to explain to you what the true mind is. They try to explain to you Buddhist concepts, advanced Buddhist concepts, which you cannot understand anyway, which cannot be explained anyway. So Master YongHua, I found, was the first teacher I noticed. That I met, who's still alive, who gave us the hints and the tips on how to discover our true mind. He's the only teacher I know of. Yes, question 4.
4. So, Master, is it best just to eat like maybe just one time during this ceremony?
The best to what?
Just to eat like maybe just one time?
We'll go into it, okay? He says, don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to go hungry. That's what I'm trying to tell you. And he says, I know you used to eat several meals a day and so forth. Here, I'm going to serve you 1 meal a day. Okay? And so bear with it. That's what it is. Just do it. Okay? Just follow along. And a little bit clearer. Can you hold on to that thought? Okay, a little bit later. So now he brings up, they say, you're not sincere at all because I'm giving you, these tips, these secrets, these secret practices that will help you get there. And you are not sincere. Okay, you must bring forth your true mind. And then if you are operating with your true mind, you will not be afraid to go hungry. Okay? Go ahead and change it again. Okay, and he says, what are you afraid of? So what's the big deal? Eat 1 meal, 2 meals, 3 meals, or eat less? It doesn't matter because it's only temporary. You might lose some weight, okay? But it's not a big deal. You won't die. And you lost some weight now. If you give you more food to eat, you won't gain much weight because the food they serve is pretty not oily, not appetizing. Okay, so what happened is his disciples, I think, when you get thinner, you can offer your flesh to the Buddha, offer your blood to the Buddha. So what I call being true. So he says he's teaching you about when you lose weight. So you lose a little bit of flesh, you have less blood. Look at it as an offering to the Buddha. He talks in a very colloquial, very, very casual way to the non-Asians, the non-Buddhists, the people who are new to Buddhism. So he says, offer the blood and flesh of the Buddha. So the concept is offer it. It's an offering. When you follow the instructions, okay? When you follow instruction, you execute the instruction, okay? You are making an offering to the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. You're creating tremendous blessings. Okay? When you do it, then you're creating a lot of blessings. If you come and listen and say, oh, I want to know how to, and I understand, and you walk away, then your blessings are far less. Okay? Like the Catholics, they like to come and say, I like to learn what these Buddhists are talking about. They seem to be pretty important, pretty interesting. And then they walk away. Okay? So they're missing out on the boat. Notice that the chant, the Pure Land talk, Dharma talks only 1 hour, supposedly. And the rest of the time is execution. And that's how blessings are created. Okay? And so you offer your blood, your flesh to the Buddha. That's what I call a sincerity, I call an offering. And you enduring your hunger is something you need to endure. So this is again, it's chant. You see that? Chant is, we teach you chant, we tell you to endure the leg pains. And magical things happen. Just endure it. Keep endure more and more and more. And so here he says, I'm not going to ask you to endure crossing your legs, but can you endure hunger? Can you endure being tired? That's also chant. Okay. And of course, the people would complain. It says, I can't endure. So he says, what is that you can't endure? So that particular person grabbed the food and hit the food, okay, and so that he can eat later in the evening, later, okay, and thinking Master couldn't see, and Master Shenhua used to terrorize them. I remember talking to one of his disciples who was there in the early days, okay, and he says practicing Master Shenhua is the most scary thing, okay, because he seems to know what we do, the bad things we do, whether eating extra meals or hiding things and then eating later and so forth, or sneaking out, okay, or running away. He knows it all, okay. And he says one thing that kind of interesting is that Master, when he was practicing with them, he has his own room. And so he would, the rest of his disciples in the building would be milling around, working and practicing and so forth, meditating, translating and reciting sutras and so forth, doing ceremony. And he says, this particular monk says, me and my co-cultivators, we find it very scary when we have thoughts of desire. Okay, you would hear in our head Master Shenhua's door being slammed, bang. So he knew everything. He terrorized them. Without fear, they can't learn. Yes.
Thank you, Master. Did Master Shenhua slam his door a lot?
To that guy, yeah, it seems like. Okay, yeah. So he says, he didn't expect me to know what he's doing and check on him. So you are laughing. That's true. I check on my disciples. You need to bring forth your true mind. It's not just hunger, you see? Yeah, the true mind is not just a hunger. He can only teach you one slice of it. He says, if you have a true mind, you're not hungry. And then that's all. You start with that. Okay? You have a true mind, you're not afraid to get tired. Is that clear? So that's all you do. You don't worry about understanding what the true mind is, because you can't. Okay? And so I myself, when I ask you to endure hunger, I'm not afraid to starve or even to death. All right? Questions or comments? So, to the Westerners, to the newcomers, it's I know you're seeking knowledge and this is interesting to you. It piqued your interest, but remember, the key thing here is also what I personally value when I first came to him is the instructions, because after that, I went all over the other temples, sought out a lot of different other teachers, Vietnamese, Chinese, Taiwanese, Japanese, and so forth. None of them told me how to find the true mind. None of them could. Yes, 7.
Mô Phật Bạch Thầy, giống tụi con vậy đó, thiệt thực mới mấy ngày mà lộn gan lộn ruột, rồi làm sao mà được có thấy được cái chân tâm đây này.
Emitofuo, Master, just like us, fasting for several days, and I feel like my stomach is already upside down. So how can I find my true mind?
You find your true mind by enduring the hunger. Okay, so the worldly people only want to know what the true mind is. And what we try to tell you is that the true mind is not something you can understand. The true mind is something you need to learn to wield, to use, not understand it. If once you see your true mind, then you know what we're talking about. Okay? And that's Buddhism. Buddhism is all these practices, reciting Buddha's name, doing ceremonies, eating lunch down there. It's all designed to help you see your true mind, have access to your true mind. Okay? And it's not talk. He successfully helped a lot of his disciples see the true minds. Yeah. All right. Any other questions?
Mô Phật Bạch Thầy, miễn mà mình thấy được cái chân tâm là những gì đó là những gì Bồ Tát, chứ đâu phải những người mà bình thường. Mô Phật.
Emitofuo, Master, as long as those who can see their true mind, they are bodhisattvas, not lay people, regular people like us. Emitofuo.
That's right. And once you see your true mind, then you are a real asset to your family. You are a real pillar to your communities, and you naturally will make significant contributions to society naturally by being yourself, by the mere fact that you're able to reach to that level, because at that level they naturally will benefit everyone. Whatever they do is will break new frontiers, will be so beneficial for so many people in a way that most people don't realize. It's not meant for you to know about what they do to help you. So, in other words, once you see your true mind and you reach that level, you expect to be abused, slandered, for the people who benefit from you to be ungrateful. And that's how it is. Okay? Go ahead, Q&A.
Thank you, Master. I would like to ask a question regarding fasting. For people who have injury, like myself, just have a broken ankle and in the process of healing, and I'm interested in going fasting. May I do that, Master?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. How long would you advise?
For you,
Yes.
to the end of the 4-chi, can you handle it?
I will try my best.
If you haven't started yet, try 9 days. It's going to help.
Okay.
Contrary to the doctor's beliefs and understanding, the fasting would help speed up your healing process.
Okay. Thank you, Master.
Okay?
Thank you,
right.
Master.
Anything else? Okay. All right. Continue, please.
If I freeze to death, I freeze to death. What's there to be afraid of?
我们去找人来呀，我一个要冻死喽，你可怜可怜我喽，被我点闪着了，没人去，所以。
We go find somebody. I'm almost frozen to death. Please have pity on me. Give me some ropes. We won't do such a thing.
我到美国6年，到这6年呢，这6年我没闪着海呀都着了，因为我去的时候。
So since I arrived in America, during those 6 years, I had no ropes to wear because my ropes became so tattered.
也没走，也没走多几对海，也没走马，也没走山。
When I went to the US, I didn't get any new shirts made, nor did I get any shoes, nor did I get any ropes made.
可的是啊，把海也都着烂了，是马也都着烂了，山也都着烂了，我也没讲没人听了，我一个没山着了。
The shoes were worn, ropes tattered, and shirts tattered. I didn't tell anyone that I had no clothes to wear.
6、7年的都还跟马马虎虎的，就算了。我到了美国，我
During those first 6 or 7 years, I just got by with whatever I had.
我的名字改了，叫穆中生。
After I arrived in the US, I changed my name to the monk in the grave.
这个渡轮死掉了所以你各地渡轮还我自己可以讲的。
Dulun was dead. Only I could talk about him.
你看我的弟子就在在中看过渡轮就是不看。那么我到了美国我就不用这个我各个名了。
But as you can see, my disciples don't even know it because I stopped using that name after I arrived in the US.
目中 我们用了6年，各个名字。
I changed my name to the monk in the grave and used that name for 6 years.
留客头有一个介君如老居士，到美国去问我。留客头有一个介君如老居士，到美国去问我，他才 first time 第一次他去问呢，我在个头我也没离开。
Later, the elder layman, Jie Junru, went to the U.S. to look for me. The first time he asked where I was there, but paid no attention to me.
他问还杜伦法师在个头吗？我这才讲，哇，他死掉了。其实死掉了。我说死掉。
He asked, "Is Dharma Master Dulun here?" I told him, "He died." And he exclaimed, "What? When did he die?"
这4年了，死这4年，他就要喊的样子。
I said, "He died 4 years ago." Looking as if he was about to cry, he said,
要喊的，我从开无缘了，我想来台可以见不到喽，你还可以灭人呐？问我，你还可以徒弟呀？我。
"Alas, I have no affinities with him. I wish to come and see him, but now I cannot. What is your relationship to him? Are you his disciple?"
我还可以徒弟，我又还可以吧，还可以个徒弟，我又可以吧，还可以个师傅，点解呢？我说。
I said, "Yes, I'm his disciple. You could say I am his disciple, or you could also say I'm his master. What do you think?"
我教开英文，开教我中文，所以我们2个人呢，也还师傅，也还徒弟，
I continued, "I teach him English. He teaches me Chinese. So both of us are both masters and disciples."
跟彼此个，咁样他就第二天呢，我们搁这有佛事。
We do not discriminate between ourselves like that. So as there was going to be a Buddhist ceremony the next day, a ceremony.
有佛事就我叫开来是斋，美国的斋，唔是这个香港的斋，唔是台湾的斋，我们搁这。
I invited him to come for a vegetarian meal. A vegetarian meal in the U.S. is not like a vegetarian meal in Hong Kong or Taiwan.
就半生不熟的各的青菜豆腐啊，这么大杂烩啊，罗汉斋呀，各样啊，煮的这个也没咩味道啊。
It is half raw and half cooked. We cook a dish of vegetables and tofu all mixed together without any seasoning.
请他食斋，请他来食斋呀，开个斋就抬头，我们就在边头抬头，我个相片，各个相片上啊，就往各个还都能把， 可以抬我。
I invited him to a meal. During the meal, the son saw my picture with the words Dharma Master Dulun written across the top.
对他个老道就讲，
After he looked up and saw this, he said to his elderly father, "This is Dharma Master Dulun."
这个老道啊，还有吗？才知道我还病了。
Only then did his elderly father realize who I was.
咁样啊，以后他就对我好的，时时去美国都去我嗰度睇下我，
After that, he treated me very well, and whenever he came to the US, he would come to my place to visit me.
咁先呢，一定先去睇我，行的地方病到他佢都唔去，他去睇我去。
The first thing he would do was to visit me. He didn't go anywhere else. He would go visit me.
Okay.
那么
Stop. So he's talking about the fear of cold. In San Francisco, it's pretty cold. It can be very cold at night and very breezy as well. And he says, maybe that's why he came up with the idea of not being afraid of freezing to death, because he lived there for 6 years and with no rope at all, or with no new ropes, so they're worn out, and he made do. He didn't buy any new ropes, buy any winter ropes, and so forth. It shows you his kung fu level. And he's able to endure the cold night and day. As you can imagine, he would not turn on a heater, as a matter of fact, okay, at all when it got cold. And so that's how he practiced. Have no new shirts made, never. This is what's so beautiful about him, is that he never really paid attention to his own well-being. All his resources were to help others. And didn't buy any shoes, didn't buy any ropes, okay? Ropes are worn, tattered, shirts, bad shape, and he didn't tell anyone that he had no clothes to wear. It's kind of extreme when you think about it. For 6 or 7 years, it just got by. And that is a spirit of cultivation. He was cultivating himself for 6, 7 years. You don't waste time. And cultivation is, for you, new people, especially new sanghas and new cultivators, you just get by with what you can get. That's it. You don't ask for things. Yes, 7.
Mô Phật bạch thầy, theo con nghĩ đó, ngày 6-7 năm mà không có bộ đồ mà để mặc nữa, thì ngọn nghĩ đó là ngài đó có một cái thiên y đó để đắp cho ngài, bởi vì ngài mới không có lạnh như vậy, chứ không thôi mà mình con người ai nào mà ở trong cái tiết mà ai nào mà không lạnh chứ, kêu bằng lạnh tới kêu bằng cũng là ấy cũng được nữa, mà tôi nghĩ ngài đó chắc có một cái định lực gì đó che chở cho ngài. Bởi vì ngài mới được cái khổ cực đó, là để làm gương cho người ta coi. Mô Phật.
Emitofuo, Master, I think that in 6 or 7 years, he doesn't have clothes to wear. I think he's wearing the heavenly clothes or something, therefore he can be able to endure the cold, the breeze. Because in those snowy days, nobody can endure that cold. So I think that there's something gotta cover him. Therefore, he were able to endure that. Maybe it is because of his samadhi power, so that to show he is an example for other people to look up to.
Yes, along that line. Basically, what he did was teach by example. And that's how I see it. I see it as him telling us that I, as your teacher, don't worry about my own well-being. Okay, it's the least in my mind to worry about myself, whether it's my clothing, my shoes, and my food, and so forth. I'm not preoccupied with that, unlike you. And that's and he did that by he taught that by living it himself. Okay, and this is a kind of thing that he was showing us and brought to a level where he never really cared for himself his entire life. He came to the U.S. with some money that he saved up from Hong Kong, and he amassed a lot of assets by the time he died here in the U.S. He came here when he was like in his 30s, right? He died when he was 70. He's here for around 60s till 90, 94, 95. So you talked about 30 years. So his 40s, he came here in his 40s. And by the time he was done, he left behind a lot of assets. The association had a lot of money, had a lot of assets. Okay, but he never sought any comfort, if you will. You look at his clothes and his photos; they're all, shall we say, ugly, low class, cheap. So that's how he lived his entire life. Never cared for it. Okay. For the first 6 or 7 years, I got by whatever I have. Again, he was cultivating. So again, the teaching is that when you cultivate folks, you get by with whatever is given to you, whatever you just have enough. Okay? No luxury, nothing fancy. And when I arrived in the U.S., I changed my name to the monk in the grave. I used to not like this concept where, why you have to pronounce yourself the monk in the grave? It's like, but it's to me, my first impression is that you just live in your grave. Why you have to call yourself monk in the grave? What's the big deal? What's in a label? Okay, and he says, Tu Lun, his prior name, now his Dharma name when he became ordained, was dead. And YongHua was the Dharma name that Master Xu Yun gave him to be his successor. So it's Tu Lun. The original name is the original monk was Tu Lun, was dead. And so no one knew about it because his connection from China, from the Far East, and therefore he didn't get in touch with them. They sort of lost touch with him. And I came here in the U.S. and he lived by himself practically. Started anew. And changed the name to Monk in the Grave and used the name for 6 years. He could have used the word YongHua, but he chose to use the word the monk in the grave. And once there is a old layman who went to U.S. and looked for him, and he found him and asked him where Tulun was, and he said Tulun died, and he says died 4 years ago. And the old man was afflicted. And he says, I came too late. I missed him again. So what's your relationship to him? And Master YongHua is playing with him. He says, testing his sincerity. And he says, I'm sort of connected to him. You could say I'm the same. I could say we both have a close relationship. There's really no discrimination between the both of us. However, if you like, you can come back tomorrow and do the Buddhist ceremony, and after that we have a meal. And the meal, again, another precedent, he said, another thing he taught as well, is what called Da Guo Chai, okay, right? So the whatever vegetables you could find, you peel it, you clean it, you dice it, and you cut it, whatever to bite size, and you throw it into the pot, fill it with water, add a little bit of tofu, okay, if you're lucky, you have some tofu, okay, and you boil it, and you eat it like that. No salt, no oil, nothing whatsoever. Okay, and it has no flavors, no spices whatsoever. In like vegetarian food that you used to in Asia, Hong Kong, and Taiwan, half raw, half cooked, and tofu. It's a luxury. Tofu, if you can find it in Chinatown in San Francisco back then, no seasoning whatsoever, and he ate it. And that old man and his son liked it, and they saw some sort of vision, and that's how he recognized him, and recognized who he was, and he would come and visit him after that. Okay. And so that's the one thing that I never learned, was never directly taught by him in his daily life, daily practices. He just gave me general directions, and that's it. But this is one of the things I liked about. I heard about this type style of eating, and when I first started practicing on my own as well, didn't have a lot of money, so money is limited, so I tried to make it last. So I would try this style, okay, where actually I would cook rice, okay, and make sure that 1 cup of rice, and I cut into 4 pieces. Okay, so you cook the rice, it's thick, as much of rice, okay, and I would divide into 4, eat in 4 days, and so I take one quarter piece out, and then when you cook the rice, you throw in some vegetable as well. Usually cabbage is pretty cheap in this country, some broccoli and so forth, and a little bit of tofu if there's some, and I would eat it. No salt, no soy sauce. Okay, it's so bland. Okay, and there's a thing here. You have to be careful. Because of that, you need to add something. You need to have some salt. No salt makes it very tasteless. It's no flavor whatsoever. However, you need to eat. I'm told you need to eat seaweed or miso, something like that, in order to get some salt in your body. Otherwise, you cannot retain water. Okay, so there's a danger there. Be careful. So I ate like this, and for a while, after about a few weeks, it is so tasty. The carrot is so sweet, so flavorful. Every single piece of vegetable is so tasty. Even the rice itself is so tasty. It's incredible. And after that, unfortunately, I started using spices and oil and stuff, and it doesn't matter. And now I eat very good food that people serve me, and I assure you, it's not as good. It's funny. So after that, you really don't care about the fancy food that's served to you anyway. It's so cool, where the simple food can be so tasty. And those are the best times of my life. Eating a meal like that and meditating all day is so cool. Okay, so he lived like that for 6 years. Okay, any questions? I think time is up. All right, then you want to continue a little bit more? I saw some people who just came. Let's continue for a few more minutes. Is that okay? Some people just came from work and so forth, or from whatever, and would be yes, Peter.
Thank you, Master. I have to say I'm intrigued because that's the first time I ever saw Great Master Shenhua's left home name that he had before. I don't know how else to describe it. Can you share with us what Du-Lun means?
Du-Lun. Du-Lun. Du is to cross over. Lun is the wheel. So the wheel that crosses over. The wheel that will cross over living beings. Okay, so that's the literal translation. But the meaning is that Du is to save living beings. Lun is the vehicle. Okay, or usually in Buddhism, Lun refers to, the Dharma wheel. You see in like Dharma territory in front of the entrance there, we have a small Dharma wheel, okay, on top, designed by Booz here. Okay, so and chosen by vote. I got voted out. I like something else, but they said no. We're going to have it our way. Since I live there, I have no choice. So the Lun there is the wheel. Okay, it has various meanings, such as a wheel that can crush the evil, the demons. The demons have no defense against it. It rolls over you and crushes you. You can't stop it. Okay, that's the concept. And also, the wheel also has a concept of carrying people, caring living beings, because the Buddhist teachers realized that in order to help save living beings, you cannot explain to them. You just have to carry them on your back. Helping people in Buddhism involves having the ability, the strength to carry beings on your back to safety. Okay, so the lun here is a vehicle that will ferry living beings to safety first, and then to a place of liberation, a place where they'll be happier, okay? Because they cannot get there by themselves. They need our assistance. So that's what a teacher is supposed to do. This is why in our world, we put so much emphasis, in Mahayana, we put a lot of emphasis on the Chan training, because Chan training is the quickest way and the most effective way to build that strength via samadhi development. Okay? And so that's why if you have the samadhi, then you can ferry people, you can carry people on your back to safety, to liberation. Okay? And finally, tu lun also means that tu is to cross over, lun is speak Dharma. Okay? The Dharma he spoke is in order to help liberate us and save us. So that's why what he taught is very profound. That's why his entire life he spoke a lot of, explained a lot of sutras, spoke a lot of dharmas. They have a mountain of tapes in the library of the CTTB, seated 10,000 Buddhas, and it's off limits to us, only accessible through his disciples, so he spoke a lot of dharmas, and I hope that someday it's available to everyone. Okay, it should, like in the U.S. in our world, we have concept of libraries where everyone has access to it. It's not reserved to just anyone. Okay, because the Dharma is meant to be shared. Okay. Even if you take those tapes and you distort it and you do deepfakes, whatever, it doesn't matter at all. Whatever you want to do is your choice. Okay, there's some people where would have access to it and make the best, or make whatever they want out of it. Okay, it's meant to be that way. Okay, and so to me, it's unfortunate. I used to be bitter, unhappy about this, that it's not made available to everyone. It should be. Okay. So he spoke a lot of great dharmas, as I explained to you earlier, when he talked about what sounded very simple. That most people, if you walk into the temple and expect the big words and the big concepts and so forth, you probably will be disappointed, because that's not the purpose. The main theme for him is, when he explains sutras even, explain the Dharma even, it's always tilted towards, skewed towards how to do it. Okay? And the Dharma, the big words, are only for you later to verify your state of attainment. So for example, when I say you are first stage Arhat now, okay, then that means that if you go back to his teachings, you go back to the Buddhist teachings, that where they talk about first stage Arhat, you will have the description of your state of where you are. And that's what's meant to do. Okay? So if you read about it and you talk about it, like the students of Buddhism nowadays would like to do, tend to do, whether it's Tibetan approach or scholarly approaches and so forth, it's not very useful. It's it's not doesn't help you become enlightened that quickly. Okay. Yeah. Yes, 7.
Mô Phật và thầy hôm qua thầy thuyết đó, ở nước Mỹ này đó là có 5 cái hoa sen nở. Thì những cái hoa sen này đó là cái phước báo của cái đất Mỹ này cũng là rất là kiết tường, rất là kêu bằng hãnh diện. Mà 5 những cái hoa sen này đó là sau này đó có vị nào lên làm tổ không? Hoặc là sư phụ nói sư phụ có 100 đệ tử xuất gia, mà sau này đó thầy 100 đệ tử với 1000 đệ tử này đó để ra để truyền pháp để độ chúng sanh, là hai cái đó giống 5 cái hoa sen này là có vị nào làm tổ chẳng không? Hoặc là sau này đó để thầy sư phụ có 100 đệ tử mà để ra hoàng dương Phật pháp để trồng một cái đại thừa ở nước Mỹ này hoặc là ở thế giới này. Mô Phật.
Emitofuo Master, yesterday Master spoke about in America. Right now, this year, we have 5 lotus flower just blossomed because of this auspicious event. We are proud of these 5 lotus flowers. So I would like to ask, is these 5 individuals who is the patriarch later become the patriarch? And also Master YongHua said that I trained 100 disciples or 1,000 disciples. And in these 100 and 1,000 disciples later, they have to go out and propagate Mahayana. Are they able to do so? That they can instill the Mahayana seed on and propagate Mahayana Dharma to this world and to other countries?
Okay. It turns out, I can tell you, that none of those 5 first disciples was a patriarch. Okay. In fact, I think only 1 or 2 remained as left home people. The others quit. And that's the way it is. When you first started, there's a selection process where you are desperate, if you will, and for crazy people who are crazy enough to give it a try, and most of them will fall off by the wayside anyway. They can't handle it. It sounds interesting to them, sounds appealing to them, but once they have to do it, they have to grind it out year after year after year. It's hard work. They can't take it. Okay, and most of them quit. And amazingly, I understand there's 1 nun who's still around, and she's enlightened. And although level of enlightenment is not very high, okay, but she's a real believer in Master Hsuan Dharma. She's a very outstanding person, outstanding disciples, outstanding woman as well. Now, what happened to those people who left, and what is the point? The point here is that when you watch the videos of his anniversaries where his disciples reminisce and talk about what they learned from Master Hsuan, a lot of them are like lay people. Most of them are lay people. And they reminisced on what they learned from him, how it was like to be taught by him. So many of these people had seniority, and they went back to lay life, and they have families, and they have a normal life. And what they do is also part of the propagation, because whatever they've been exposed to changed them and planted the seeds of Bodhi in them already. And then those genes are there, and they will be passed on to the next generation, next generation, next generation. That's very important. Whatever they learn from Master XinHua, okay, are in the genes, and they are being disseminated throughout the country, throughout the world. Very similarly to when I went to Korea, and I was interested because I saw some Korean masters who were enlightened, second ground Bodhisattva and fourth ground Bodhisattva. So I said, wow, they do have seats in Korea. So better go there and take a look and see what kind of seeds were planted. And sure enough, Korean Buddhism, as the more we learn about it, is so strong because their disciples have Mahayana seeds, so that when you teach them, you can utilize those seeds to help them develop wisdom very quickly. So in a way, you may not be able to see the results of those first 5 disciples, but their seeds are being passed on, being planted, and that's very important. Okay. And that's Buddhism. Buddhism is about, we think very long term. We think about quality of the seeds. Maybe even those 5 disciples, first disciples, they're called Bodhi seeds, and they're called Bodhisattvas because they're spreading the seeds. And we need those seeds in order for the future generation, for Buddhism to prosper later, okay, for future generations. So that's so important. Like you right now, you go back and you spreading from being yourself. You're spreading the seeds. You're spreading the spirit of Mahayana, our style of American Mahayana, okay, and it will bear fruit in the future. That's the main thing. And even though those 5 disciples, early disciples, even those who survive or who are still a nun today, they are helping pave the way for Buddhism to proliferate, to prosper in a way that you wouldn't be able to imagine. So, for example, now there are lay people who are enlightened, who don't necessarily practice our way, okay, but there are plenty of people in our world, whether it's here in the United States or in Korea, lay people and monks and so forth, or in China or in Vietnam and so forth. I don't know about Vietnam. I haven't been to Vietnam for a long time. But they are doing the same thing. They are spreading the seeds. They're helping people cultivate, albeit in some cases a very narrow way. Yeah. So I've been meeting some lay people recently who are kind of doing that. Yeah. Okay, so it's kind of cool. Buddhism is, we have a vast network of operators, you will, spies and ninjas and samurais and swordsmiths and so forth. And we're spreading the seeds, okay, quietly. So don't think that they are more Catholics than Buddhists. Actually, they're more Buddhists than Catholics. Okay? So even like in Korea, where the funny thing is in Korea, and the young people who came to our temples are actually a good percentage are Catholics, and they pick up very quickly. They may be Catholic, but you teach them full lotus, They can sit in full lotus for an hour the first time, just like that. Okay, so that's from Buddhist seats, if you will. All right. And later, the second patriarch came, and I don't know what Master Shoha did with him. Apparently, whatever he taught works for them, I guess. I was never enamored with it. I was actually disappointed. I came from a very worldly perspective where you organize things and certain ways of doing business and certain ways of treating people, especially outsiders. Okay, and I'm disappointed because to me, from a person who's done business before and dealt with professional before, it's not. We frown upon such behavior. So the standards are not there. I'm not happy. I'm not impressed. That maybe I'm manic. I don't know. Okay, I need more time to sort it out. But I can tell you that my time there is actually a lot of suffering, very disappointing. Okay, so but that's theirs is the Chinese style. Okay, it works for them. They have very strong supporters. They have very devoted disciples who continue to support his Sangha in a way sort of blindly out of loyalty to him. That's a lot to be said about that, meaning that they're supporting him, not necessarily his disciples. Okay. Any other questions? So it's the difficulties of spreading Buddhism is that it's not the way you think. It's not like when you do marketing and you write a very nice newsletter and people, wow, this is so pleasant. And you look at newsletter, wow, it flows. I scroll down and say, wow, it really flows. It's just always things that caught my attention. Each piece caught my attention. I said, wow, it is so clever and so well done. It's more of planting seeds, if you will. Because my view of Buddhism's propagation is not quantity, but I looked at your level of wisdom, your level of samadhi, because as is the case here, what he taught here is so advanced. To me, it's so advanced, so beautiful, so clever, so ingenious, and it's there, okay? The teaching is there, and that's what he did, is to leave this treasure behind, okay? But the comprehension from the disciples he directly trained is not there yet. Because if it's there, they would have made this available already. Is it clear? Because this is the treasure. The treasure in Buddhism are meant to be shared with everyone, okay? Freely. Give it away, like Master Hsuan did. His entire life, whatever he got that's most valuable, he gave it away. Clothing, tea, whatever, shoes, cars, houses, and whatever, okay? He drove this very beat-up car. He didn't even drive it. He's driven around this beat-up car, okay, and never drove a brand new car. People gave him clothes. He would give them the sashes to his disciples. Okay, very rare we would wear new clothes. And so to me, I see how I really appreciate the way he teaches it. And that's why it's a pleasure for me personally to be able to revisit it or learn about it with all of you. Okay, so it serves dual purpose for you as well for myself. Okay, and to me, it's a crying shame that the way he taught it, he left his treasure here, but it's not appreciated by the disciples who were trained by him. So there's a gap between the level of the Dharma he taught and the level that's being absorbed. So that's why I look at it and say, in that's the case, then what he did here is so profound. Then we should next, in the future generation, is to bring up the level of absorption so that they understand more about this beautiful Dharma he left behind. So to me, he did what he had to do by leaving these treasures and creating the foundation. But for the future generation, we need to bring up the level of comprehension on the average. To me, Buddhism is there already. Now it's about helping you connect with it, comprehend it, and utilize it in your lives. All right, we stop here tonight. Thank you all, and let's do the transference.